It started with a mop, a busted vacuum, and $26 in his checking account. At 5:45 Minier, he was scrubbing toilets in an office building that didn't even know his name. His landlord had given him one more week to pay rent. Fast forward 2 years, she's running a six-figure cleaning company, employing 5 other guys who were just like him, tired, overlooked, and hungry for a shot. This isn't a get-rich-quick story. This is what happens when survival turns into strategy. He never planned to start a cleaning business. That was never the dream. In fact, 2 years ago, he didn't have any dreams left. His name is Andre, 32 years old, born and raised in Cincinnati, Ohio. He had worked at a warehouse for 7 years, same routine, same paycheck, same back pain every night. Then came the layoffs. Budget cuts. No warning, just a final paycheck and a thin white envelope. He walked home that day carrying nothing but a cardboard box and a knot in his stomach. Rent was due in 10 days. His car was already 2 months behind on payments. And his bank account? $26. Not enough to fill the gas tank, much less change his life. Andre didn't tell anyone how bad it was. His friends thought he was still working. His mom kept asking if he was eating enough. He lied and said he was fine, that everything was under control. It wasn't. He applied for jobs, warehouse gigs, night shifts, anything. But no one was calling back. One morning, he stood in the mirror and just stared. Hair overgrown, face tired, hoodie stretched thin. He looked like someone who had given up. That same day, walking to the corner store with 5 to buy rice and eggs, he saw a woman coming out of an apartment with a mop bucket and gloves. She looked exhausted but focused. Her car was wrapped with a decal that said, "Sparkle Pro Cleaning Services, we leave it better than we found it." Something clicked. He didn't say anything to her, but he couldn't stop thinking about it. Later that night, sitting in his room scrolling Craigslist, he found an ad. 80 cash for apartment cleaning. Must bring own supplies. It sounded sketchy, but he had nothing to lose. He borrowed a mop and a bottle of Pine Sol from his neighbor, took a city bus across town, and at 7 a.m. the next day, he cleaned that one bedroom like it was a mansion. Baseboards, windows, even the space behind the toilet. The woman who hired him didn't say much, but when she handed him 80 in cash and said, "You did good," it felt like the first time anyone had told him that in months. He went home that night with sore hands, the smell of bleach on his clothes, and more money than he'd made in the past 2 weeks combined. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't easy, but it was something. And that something would soon become everything. It's funny how life can pivot because of something small. For Andre, that moment came while standing in the checkout line at a thrift store, clutching a used hoodie and a half-priced pack of socks. He wasn't there for anything deep, just warmth and a deal. But right by the register was a cardboard box marked "Used Books, 1.25 each." He flipped through the titles out of boredom. Then he saw it. A bright orange paperback with bold black letters. "Profit First. Transform your business from a cash-eating monster to a money-making machine." By Mike Michalowicz. He didn't know who Mike was. He wasn't even sure he had a business. He was just doing odd jobs, mopping floors, trying not to drown. But something about that title hit him in the gut. He put back the socks and bought the book. That night, under the dim light of a busted floor lamp, Andre read the first 80 pages straight through, and for the first time in months, he felt like someone was speaking directly to him. The book wasn't written for Harvard grads or Silicon Valley guys. It was written for people like him, people doing the work, but never seeing the money. People who keep hustling and surviving, but never feel in control. There was one line he highlighted and underlined twice. "Your business should serve you, not the other way around." That was the moment something cracked open. Up until then, Andre thought the only way to survive was to take whatever came his way. Underpaying clients, working Sundays, saying yes to everyone just to keep the lights on. But this book, it flipped that logic upside down. Mike talked about paying yourself first even if it's only 10. About setting up different bank accounts, one for profit, one for taxes, one for operating costs. About treating your time like a valuable asset, not a donation. Andre had never thought about business like that. He wasn't just cleaning apartments, he was building something. He started applying the principles that same week. Opened a free online bank account. Split every 100 he made into 55 for operations, 10 for taxes, 5 for profit, and the rest for himself. Tracked every dollar with a notebook and a 4 calculator from Dollar Tree. And guess what? It didn't feel like survival anymore. It felt like a system, a direction, a quiet kind of control. By the end of the month, he wasn't rich, but he had 42 in his profit account. And for the first time in years, he wasn't just working. He was building. Andre had no office, no staff, no vehicle, not even a business card. Just one mop, a second-hand vacuum that cut out if it overheated, and the idea planted by Profit First that maybe, just maybe, this thing could become real. He started small, hyper-local. Every morning, before the sun came up, he'd post in Facebook neighborhood groups. Reliable apartment cleaning, cash discounts, fast turnaround. Text Andre. He made a free logo on Canva and printed 50 flyers at the library. Then he walked door to door, taping them to laundromats, coffee shop corkboards, and mailbox clusters in nearby apartment complexes. No one called for the first 3 days. Then he got a text. "Hi, Andre. Can you do a move-out clean this Saturday?" He replied yes, before even checking his calendar. That 120 job turned into another referral, which turned into another. And suddenly, Andre was booked 4 days a week, not full-time, but enough to breathe. He reinvested everything, bought better gloves, swapped out his mop head every 2 weeks, got a pair of steel-toe shoes after dropping a couch corner on his foot. His supplies fit in a 12 storage bin. He slid into a city bus seat beside him. He didn't care how it looked. He cared that he was getting paid and delivering real value. By month 2, he was targeting short-term rental owners. Airbnb hosts were desperate for reliable turnover cleaning. Andre found listings, messaged hosts directly with a pitch. "I clean fast, I clean right, and I send photos. Give me one shot." One said yes, then another. He'd take before and after pictures of every job and text them within 10 minutes of finishing. His attention to detail got noticed. Towels folded the same way. Toilets scrubbed till they reflected light. Fridge magnets lined up. It wasn't cleaning, it was presentation. He still made mistakes. He once left a key inside a locked unit and had to pay for a locksmith. Another time, he forgot to clean behind a stove and got a 3-star review. But each time, he owned and improved. He didn't have fancy tools or marketing, but he had pride, precision, and follow-through. When a host asked if he had insurance, he didn't lie. He said, "Not yet, but I'm saving for it." That honesty got him more respect than any sales pitch. By month 4, he had 2 repeat clients and 5 one-off jobs every week. He wasn't rich, but he had a calendar full of work, rent paid on time, and 200 sitting untouched in his profit account. And for a man who once had to borrow a mop, that felt like wealth. Every story worth telling has its bruises. Andre's was no different. The momentum was real. More jobs, more referrals, more days ending with a pocket full of crumpled 20s. But just as fast as the work came in, so did the stress. He was saying yes to everyone. Every text, every call, every last-minute Airbnb flip. He didn't have boundaries, didn't know how to say no, and the cracks started showing. One week in particular still plays in his head like a bad dream. 5 back-to-back cleanings, 2 buses across town, 1 broken vacuum. He skipped lunch, slept 4 hours. He thought he was being gritty, but he was burning out. Then came the mistake. He got a booking for a townhouse deep in the suburbs move-out cleaning. Big job. Paid $200. He needed it. Rent was due. But Andre didn't check the square footage. He didn't ask if the place was carpeted or tiled. He didn't ask if it had pets. He just said yes. He showed up at 9 a.m. to a wreck. 200 square feet. Dog hair everywhere. Grease baked into the oven like concrete. 3 bathrooms that looked like they hadn't been touched in months. And he was alone. No backup. No help. Just him, 2 trash bags, and a vacuum that overheated after 10 minutes. He tried to push through, but by hour 5, he was still on the kitchen. He missed a corner behind the fridge, didn't clean the sliding door tracks, rushed the second bathroom. He knew it wasn't his best work, but he had to get to the next client by 5. The customer left a review. Nice guy, but sloppy work. Wouldn't rehire. That one line hit harder than it should have. But it made something very clear. Hustle doesn't scale. Exhaustion isn't a badge of honor. And overbooking doesn't mean you're growing, it means you're drowning. He spent the whole night staring at the ceiling, questioning everything. Am I even cut out for this? Should I go back to applying for warehouse jobs? Is this just a phase that's going to crash like everything else? The next morning, he almost canceled all his jobs, but instead, he pulled out his notebook and made 2 lists. 1. Everything I hate about how I'm working. 2. Everything I'd change if I treated this like a real company. It was the first time he stopped being just the cleaner and started thinking like the owner. Mistakes didn't end him. They revealed what wasn't working. That bad review? It didn't break him. It built version 2. It happened quietly, not in a burst of motivation, not from some viral video. It was just a Tuesday morning. Andre sat at his small kitchen table, wobbly leg, chipped corner, coffee in a chipped mug. But this time, he didn't have bleach on his hands. He had a pen. He looked at the 2 lists from the night before. List 1. Everything that was broken. Undercharging. Overbooking. Doing 100% of the work. 100% of the time. Never saying no. Never knowing if he was actually making profit or just surviving. List 2. If this were a real company. Set prices. A real name. Not just Andre the Cleaner. Systems, schedules, tools, boundaries. Clients who respected his time. Weekly reports. Profit goals. Paid time off even if just 1 Sunday a month. That morning, he made a decision. From today on, I'm not just cleaning homes. I'm building a brand. I'm building my life. He chose a name, Precision Cleaning Co. He made a free website using a template, bought a .com domain for $12, created a simple booking form with set packages, Basic Clean, $89, Deep Clean, $149, Move Out, starting at $179. He stopped negotiating his worth. When someone tried to haggle, he said, I respect your budget, but I don't compete on price. I compete on quality. It scared him the first few times, but to his surprise, clients respected it. He also changed how he worked. Every Friday, he reviewed his income using a free spreadsheet. He raised his rates by 15% and tracked who stayed. Most did. He scheduled 2 rest days a month, non-negotiable. And slowly, things shifted. He started dressing the part. Branded polo shirt, clipboard, shoe covers. It wasn't about looking fancy, it was about owning the role. He stopped calling himself a guy who cleans apartments. Now, when people asked what he did, he said, "I run a residential and short-term rental cleaning service. We specialize in 5-star turnovers. Because if you don't believe it, no one else will." Within weeks, he felt the difference. Clients introduced him to their friends. A realtor offered to refer him to all her listings. He got his first 5-job week and didn't feel broken at the end of it. Mindset is everything. And Andre realized the most important shift wasn't in his tools, his website, or his logo. It was in this sentence he started telling himself every morning. This isn't side hustle mode anymore. This is business owner mode. And I deserve to be paid like one. Success didn't come overnight, but it did start compounding. Andre wasn't just surviving anymore, he was strategizing. By month 7, his schedule was almost full. 5 to 6 jobs a week, a few regular Airbnb clients, some realtors, a couple of busy moms who loved how he folded their towels like a hotel. It was working. But one thing became painfully clear. He was maxed out. His knees hurt. His back was stiff. He was missing birthday dinners, ignoring texts, turning down weekend rest. This wasn't freedom. This was another job wearing a different uniform. And that's when he remembered something from Profit First. If you're the only one doing the work, you don't own a business. You own a job with overhead. That hit hard. So Andre did what most solo cleaners are terrified to do. He hired help. Not a full-time employee, just a guy from his neighborhood, Marcus. Mid-30s, recently laid off. Andre trained him personally, taught him the same towel fold, the same order of operations, the same mindset. Respect every home like it's your own. The first job together took twice as long. Marcus was new, nervous, made a few mistakes. But clients were patient, and Andre followed up with a personal thank you note and 10 Starbucks card for the feedback. That touch? It built trust. By the 3rd week, Marcus was handling 1 job a day alone. Andre took 2. They doubled their output without doubling the burnout. Then came the uniforms. Simple black polos with a white logo. Precision Cleaning Co. Andre paid for them with the money in his profit account. The first time he and Marcus walked into a client's house wearing matching shirts, the client actually said, "Oh wow, y'all look official." That moment changed everything. They got referred to a local Airbnb management company that needed weekly cleanings. Andre landed a trial job and crushed it. Fast turnover, branded checklist, photos within 15 minutes of completion. By month 10, they had recurring contracts with 4 Airbnb hosts, 2 realtors, and a local dentist's office. Andre no longer had to chase work. Work was coming to him. He implemented basic systems. Google Calendar with color-coded appointments. Shared task checklist with Marcus via Google Sheets. Customer feedback forms sent after each job. It wasn't perfect, but it worked. And when they crossed 6-0 in revenue in a single month, Andre did something he'd never done before. He took a full weekend off. No mops. No texts. No emergencies. He drove out of town, rented a small Airbnb cabin, and just rested. Because building a business doesn't mean sacrificing your soul. It means building a life you don't have to run away from. Andre used to count quarters to ride the bus. Now he drives a used but reliable Toyota Sienna paid in full. He used to take cleaning supplies from the dollar store. Now he orders eco-friendly products in bulk branded with his company name. He used to stare at the ceiling at 3 a.m., wondering how to pay rent. Now he falls asleep by 10 peaceful, exhausted but safe. Everything didn't change, but the important things did. Today, Precision Cleaning Co. serves over a dozen regular clients, 2 full-time team members, 1 part-timer. Andre doesn't clean every house anymore, but he still checks in, still drops by, still walks through the job with new hires, just like he did with Marcus. Every Friday, he transfers money into 4 accounts: profit, owner's pay, taxes, operating expenses. He follows the system like religion, not because he's a perfectionist, but because he remembers what it felt like to have 0.37 in his checking account. He pays himself every Friday first thing, even if it's just a couple $100. That ritual means something. It tells him, you built this, you earned this, you're not scraping by anymore. But what really changed? His reach, his ripple. A year ago, Marcus was unemployed and borrowing gas money. Today, he's a lead cleaner, saving up for his own apartment. Andre recently hired Tanya, a single mom who had been couch surfing with her 2 kids. She told him after her second paycheck, "This is the first time I bought groceries without using EBT." That stuck with him. Because Andre's not just building a business, he's building dignity in others and in himself. A few months back, he got a call from his landlord, the one who once taped that eviction notice to his door. The building was going up for sale. And you know what Andre said? "How much are you asking?" He didn't buy it, but he thought about it. That alone, that was power. He's not rich, not flashy, not some Instagram guru preaching success. He's just a guy who mops floors, treats people well, shows up on time, and writes things down. And now, instead of chasing stability, he offers it to others. If Andre could sit across from the version of himself from 2 years ago, the guy with $26, 1 mop, and a stomach full of dread, he wouldn't start with a business plan. He'd start with silence. He'd let that man breathe. Let him rest his shoulders. Let him cry if he needed to. Because back then, nobody was telling him it was okay to be tired, to be scared, to not have it all figured out. Then, when the quiet settled, he'd say, "You're not broken. You're just exhausted from doing everything alone. It's not that you don't have potential. You just haven't been given a map. Stop thinking you have to impress anyone to start. Start small. Start quiet. Start messy." He'd tell him, "You'll make mistakes. You'll lose clients. You'll work weekends you swore you wouldn't. But you'll learn, and it will build something no one can take from you." He'd tell him that he won't feel like a business owner right away. He'll still question himself even when he hits 10K months. Even when the invoices come in, and the calendar's full, and the team's showing up. Because imposter syndrome doesn't care about bank balances. But most of all, he'd say, don't wait for someone to validate you. Call yourself the CEO now. Call yourself the founder. Speak it even if your voice shakes. Because everything you want, the freedom, the dignity, the future where you don't have to check your balance before buying groceries, it's not waiting for permission. It's waiting for action. And then he'd lean forward, look his old self in the eyes, and whisper the words that got him through the hardest nights. Just keep showing up. Even when you feel invisible. Even when no one believes in it yet. Even when you're cleaning toilets at 6 a.m., wondering what the hell you're doing. Keep showing up. Because one day, you'll look back and realize you didn't just clean floors. You cleaned up your life. Andre's story isn't about mops, or margins, or marketing. It's about agency. About building a life where you're not waiting to be rescued. So, if you're listening to this while holding your own version of $26, remember, you don't need the perfect plan. You just need one good step, and the courage to take it again and again and again.